Good morning. This is Neil Spate at Thurrock Nub News, outside one of the little gems in Thurrock's crown, the Thameside complex, which houses the Thameside Theatre. And I'm here this morning with Rob Seaman, who is currently, I believe, still the Assistant Director of Animation at Mary Poppins in the West End. And good morning, Rob.
Morning, Neil. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Now, originally we were going to meet to talk about the fact that the government had done very, very little for the arts sector. Thankfully, last evening there was a big announcement.
There was,
I think there's 1.6 billion. 1.6 billion is now going to be given to the arts sector. I mean, you've spent a lifetime in it. You've been very successful.
Yeah.
And I'll make the point, you are very much a Thurrock person, a Grays man, and I love the arts. So what's your take on the situation as we are today regarding the arts in general and theatre perhaps in particular?
Well, I think, obviously, as you stated, that we were going to have this conversation not knowing that there was going to be a bailout from the government. And, up to that point, there were protests that were going to be held across the country, outside the Thameside, in Trafalgar Square this Saturday at 12 p.m. to kind of, galvanise support and just say, look, we're on our knees. We still are to an extent. There's so many venues that have closed down, and you may have heard in the news the Nuffield in Southampton, the Birmingham Hippodrome has closed down. And so until that announcement came last night, which we was all hoping for, which we've been pushing for so long, I could see loads of venues going to the wire, and it's absolutely brilliant that the government have decided to bail us out with this £1.6 billion, but it's a little bit too late for the people that have already lost their jobs and the theatres that have closed and that probably won't come back from this, and I think it's really important that the wider community and people in general understand that the arts it's not just about people dancing on stage, and acting on stage and singing on stage and entertaining. It's the departments that follow those people. So you've got crew, stage management, wardrobe, wigs, lighting, sound, and then you've got all the other industries that support the theatre and live music in general. So that's all the builders, the set designers, the directors, the lighting contractors. It's vast. It's not just what happens on stage. It's massive.
Yeah, I was very privileged last year. I think it was seemed like last year. You were working on Aladdin.
I was working on
Absolutely fantastic show, and I sent Rob a text after the show saying really loved your work, and he very kindly said, would you like to come and see it from the other side? And so I was very lucky that I went back and saw the whole show. Well, I didn't actually see the show, but I was backstage watching it, and I was absolutely blown away. But the numbers were quite staggering. I think on that production alone, Aladdin, there were how many performers? Actual performers was
about 40, I think it was.
And how many backstage?
There's about 200 backstage,
So,
including front of house as well.
Yeah.
There's about 200 to 300 people per show.
Yeah, so I mean that gives you an idea that one show, we obviously played to many packed houses, as I say, 40 odd people on stage, but that huge army of people, and these are the people that you were really, well, obviously concerned about the performers as well, but the guys and girls who make it all happen backstage.
Absolutely. I mean, to put it into perspective, so the cast themselves are almost classed as freelancers, so they haven't had any government funding whatsoever, but unless they've applied for self-employed funding. I'm one of the lucky ones because I was under contract, and still am under contract. So I work for the show. It basically works so the theatre has a number of staff, and the show itself has a number of staff. So I'm employed by the show. But for a lot of those people, a lot of them are freelancers, and they haven't had a penny from any of this.
And I understand, obviously, Thurrock, being so close to London, is actually a home for a huge amount of creative talent.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that in Thurrock that work up in town, but I always see Thurrock, it's a bit of a hot spot, I think, for creative industries. You've got the Royal Opera House down the road and the Backstage Centre. You've got some fantastic amateur dramatic groups that come here, Tops, the Essex Group. But then you've got all these little dance groups, and I think it's a real cultural hub, and I just hope and wish that the public support these people. You know, it's really important that they do.
Yeah, I mean, just diversifying a little bit. I mean, Thurrock, as I say, I describe the Thames side as one of the hidden gems.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fair to say we probably share a view that it's been underinvested in.
I would say so. I mean, my first experience at theatre was the Thames side. I came to see the pantomime here in the mid-80s with the late great Alexander Bridge and Bruce James Productions, and I hardly missed any pantos here, and I got involved, you know, in local amateur dramatics here, and that's what kind of got me into theatre. And yeah, I mean, the Thames side's it's like a home from home for me. It's a lovely little venue. Has it been underinvested? Probably yes. Does it need more investment? Yes, absolutely it does. I mean, you can see it's been here since 1972, 73, something like that. It does need investment, definitely, and the council, I think, should absolutely invest in this place.
Yeah, or possibly even a new venue. I mean, there's a lot of talk about the State, for example, as a missed opportunity.
I think it was a missed opportunity to a certain extent. Yeah, I know that there was talk of you know, the O2 taking it over. Yeah, it is a missed opportunity. You know, I haven't been in there for years and years, but it is, for anyone that hasn't been in there, it's a wonderful, wonderful place. But the trouble is, it's so big, so vast, you would need to fill it out every single night. Whereas this, you know, a 300-seater venue is ideal. But you know, there was talk a while back about a new theatre down at the Riverside, and I was all for that because I love this place, but it's limited. It's limited to what you can do. If you were to have something new down at the Riverside, it would be great. I've heard that that's not going to happen now. But if it did happen, they would need to build something first before knocking this place down. That was my biggest concern, was that they would make all these promises of building a new theatre, knock this place down, and then that new theatre wasn't built.
Yeah, and while I've got you, I've got to ask you to share maybe a couple of memories. You've obviously had a fabulous career, graduated to some of the top shows in the West End.
Yeah.
With some of the shows that you've worked on?
So I've worked on, originally I trained as an actor, believe it or not, and that didn't work out for me. So I decided to work front of house at the Dominion. That was my first job in London. And from that I moved backstage and got into automation, which is what I do now. And so I've worked on We Will Rock You, Oliver, Jersey Boys, Aladdin, and now currently Mary Poppins.
Any favourite moments?
Oh, it's been some great moments. I mean, working on We Will Rock You has always been brilliant because there was a very special occasions where Brian May and Roger Taylor would come on and they perform. If you know, it was an end of cast contract, they would come on and perform, and that always was amazing to see Queen playing live. You know, brilliant.
And Mary Poppins, obviously it's all black at the moment.
Yeah.
Will Mary? I mean, it's only just got into its stride, really. Will Mary Poppins come back?
Well, yeah, they want it to come back. Yeah, I mean, it's been very vague what the government have said. Obviously, they've said that they've given us this 1.6 billion, and how that's going to be divvied out, I don't know. But I've been told that the show won't reopen until the new year at the earliest. You know, at the moment, we're all going through consultation of possible redundancy. So it's hopefully this new bailout will stop all that, and pantos I think will be a telling point. I know that the Culture Secretary today has said that he'd like to see pantos back at Christmas, but to be honest with you, it's probably the wrong thing to do right now. I would hedge my bets that the shows will come back in the new year or spring at the earliest.
Okay, well, look, thank you very much for your time. Let's hope that you get back to work properly in the near future. Let's hope that we get something positive about the Thames side and Thurrock and all those hundreds and hundreds of people in the creative industry and performers in Thurrock. We wish you all well. And what's the phrase? Break a leg to everybody.
The show must go on, I think is the phrase we need to use.
The show must go on. Thank you very much indeed.
Cheers.